And I thank God over and over again that I was able to experience these things. And it's one of the things that drives me so hard is I want to bring everyone there to see that, to be able to experience what we experienced. It's just an incredible thing. And it just makes the Scripture so alive. It's just so incredible. To think that it's still preserved is just amazing. We're going to quickly go through a series of artifacts. These things should be at the traditional location or any location where you would think this would be Mount Sinai. You should find evidence of some of these things. And this is just not my opinion. This is from many, many different archaeologists. They put together the things that they should find when they go to a particular site for it to have any connection to what's in the Bible. An altar. And it's right here in Scripture, Exodus chapter 24. Moses wrote all these words. He rose up early in the morning and he builded an altar under the hill. Builded in this word, in sense of the word, means that he constructed something. So what we're going to see is a literal device that would be needed in order to handle what's happening here. It's not something people want to talk about. This is animal sacrifice. This is what it's about. And there had to be a mechanism, just to give you an idea of size perspective, that's a road coming back into the base of the mountain where we find this altar and animal chutes. And when I was young, and that is when you're a kid, the parents are visiting your grandparents. Ours in Louisiana had a farm, hundreds of acres and cattle. And when we arrived, from my grandfather's point of view, it was fresh labor. We're going to put these kids to work. Well, we did get to hunt a little bit. That was the fun part. But the other part was, and it was always concerning something to do with cattle, more than likely it was going to be rebuilding the bullpen. And that's something that just stuck in my head of the way it was constructed. And then when I walked into the site, before even the excavation was done, this is what hit me. God, it takes me back to my grandfather's farm and the bullpen that he had devised. And this is an idea. The animal chutes would have been the large oxen, like cattle, brought in for sacrifice. And then you would see a way to manage them. And you see this angle, and each one of these devices, to bring cattle up to any kind of operation in the way they do these things, they have to come in at an angle so that the one behind does not see the one in front. And it's a diversion technique. And they were fully aware of it. And I'm just showing here, this is current, you can go to any university, has anything to do with cattle, and look at the way the corrals are built, and you'll see a number of these types forming. They bring the animal in, and it's always at an angle up to a squeeze, they call it. So that would have been this mechanism. Then we have the slaughter platform, another part of the device, the mechanism. There's your animal chutes, pictures, the slaughter platform itself. And then the way, and I know I'm going through this fairly quickly, but if you're interested, this is the type of thing that you'd have to study in detail. This is part of the process. This is what is in our Bible. This is scriptural. Earthen altars says that Moses at that point was away from the builded altars, and they had to be of earthen make. So this is an earthen altar sitting here. The sacrificial process would have happened here. The altar with the fire would have been here. And then they would have scraped, I'm assuming, the ashes off, because this pit that they dug down, they specifically dug it down, and you can see the ground, when I got in there, the ground was covered with black ash, and you could see where the layers were down in the bottom of this 6-foot deep pit, down in here. Sacrificed peace offerings of oxen made unto the Lord.
Yeah, an oxen is a very large animal.
It is, and just an idea what it would take to bring an oxen up to an altar. And then this is a drawing, just kind of went wild with Photoshop, stamping those cows. I tried to get 12 of them in there, I think. But And it would have been a one-at-a-time type process, but you can see the slaughter platform, the altar here. There's Moses himself, and then we'll get to this here in a minute.
Well, one of the things, go back to that shot, one of the things that I want to stress to you, we lived in the Middle East for 12 years inside Saudi Arabia. We have been all over Jordan, Israel, Egypt, other excursions into other places. We have seen all the ruins, all the temples, every place they say this is an altar, that's an altar. We have never in all of that time seen any ruin that looks like this one. If this was a common building way and we had seen 4 of them in Jordan and 3 of them in Egypt, this wouldn't have made any kind of a difference to us. It would, that's just another one of those crazy, whatever they are. But this one is unique, and it's out in the middle of nowhere. There's no cities built around this. This is in the middle of the desert, and it's highly specific. This is not just a square block building. This is very, very segmented with a purpose for each of these segments. And somebody took a lot of time to put this together. And why is this out in the middle of nowhere in the desert at the base of a mountain? You have to ask yourself that, because this is not a commonality of structure throughout the places in the Middle East that we've seen. And we visited a lot of places, believe me. If it was a museum or anything to do with ruins, we were there. So it's very, very odd and unusual.
Next thing we'll be looking at are the 12 pillars. And the 12 pillars are a study in its own right. I mean, this is an amazing find to see that this was still here. It talks about builded, again, a terminology that says we're going to construct something. And 12 pillars according to the 12 tribes.
And leave it there for just a second. I want to harp on that just a little bit, because there's a great assumption that, he must have turned up some stones and used them as to represent each of the tribes of Israel. Well, the Bible is very specific when a stone is turned up. It does not say that here. It says he builded an altar under the hill and 12 pillars. It does not say he builded an altar and used 12 stones as pillars. One of the things that we have gotten radical about is don't put words in the Bible if they're not there. It's what it says. He builded an altar and 12 pillars. It does not say he turned up stones to represent Israel. It says he builded 12 pillars. That's what the scripture says.
Simply. Absolutely.
So, this is just another drawing, but there are these pillars that are out there in this region. They're scattered about. We found at least 9 of them that are still there. There's these other pillars here, and your little study in Numbers may have something to do with that.
Yeah, I found something interesting in the book of Numbers, if you can imagine that. Everybody loves the book of Numbers. Yeah, right. Never go there. No, it's a great book as well. But the puzzle was, we have all these pillars, each one's unique size, and then how would Moses identify each pillar representing one of the tribes? Well, he couldn't chisel a name in it. That was forbidden. In this case, what would be another way to make each pillar unique? And this worked out. To look at each one of the tribes, take the number of Manasseh, 32,200, up through Judah. You see how they're in a progression. Each tribe larger, more numbers, bigger and bigger, up to Judah being the largest tribe. Take the smallest pillar at 14 inches, and this is that graph. And we have 9 of the 12 that fall into this graph perfectly. It's an amazing connection. 3 of them are missing. But there again, below them, see the tribes across, with Judah being the largest. Another bit of interesting information that you get from this location. This is just my rendition. Could have been configured many different ways, but on the breastplate of the high priest, you see the 12 stones in a particular pattern. And so that's why you see it in this pattern right here. Again, each one of the pillars being a different height, from the smallest through to the largest. This is some of my original drawings, sketches from memory when we got back. What these were, but they are pavers, and they use them in Egypt all over the place, so they would have been familiar with this technique for the foundation of a temple or anything where they need stonework on the floor, and this is what you would end up with.